I spent the morning cleaning my room so I could look at a picture of an airplane.
Marcus said, unimpressed by Rick's magazine. Hey, not just any airplane. I'd even clean your room for this, Rick said, flipping the pages to the picture of the Super Cub. Listen, you know how we always talk about being mission pilots?
Yeah.
Marcus said, eyeing the photograph.
Keep talking.
Just take a look at the specs for this airplane. Rick pointed at each feature as he talked. It's perfect. 2 seats, cargo space for medical supplies, books, food, and whatever else. It's light and easy to fly. And it can probably be fitted with pontoons to land in the water, so it can be taken anywhere. Perfect for a team of mission pilots, right?
Well, yeah, it would be great.
Marcus started to say, but Rick interrupted him before he could say something too practical. Just listen, what if we started raising the money now to buy the Super Cub? Rick thumped his hand on the picture. By the time we're old enough to get our pilot's licenses, which really isn't that long if you think about it, we'd have enough money saved up to buy the plane. Rick waited impatiently for the thought to sink in, and after a few seconds, Marcus started nodding.
Yeah, why not?
Marcus said, his voice rising with excitement.
We could start pooling our allowances, maybe even open a savings account and earn interest on the money.
Rick could tell by the look in Marcus' eyes that he was sold on the idea. Yes, Rick said. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it,
said a muffled voice from under the bed. Rick and Marcus looked at each other, then knelt down and lifted up the edge of the comforter for a look. Tim, what are you doing under there? Rick demanded.
Well,
This was a private meeting. Tim bumped his head on his way from under the bed. He stood looking at Rick and Marcus, rubbing his head furiously with the palm of his hand.
Ouch.
Rick tried to be patient with him. Tim, you're going to have to go out so that Marcus and I can talk. I'll play with you later, but right now, Marcus and I have a lot of planning to do. Rick and Marcus pulled the money out of their wallets and pulled it out in a pile on the floor. Marcus started counting it while Rick got out his calculator. Tim didn't budge.
But I want to go in the plane too.
You can't, Rick said, nudging him toward the door. Marcus and I aren't pretending. This isn't the same as when I played with you. We're serious. Besides, it's a Super Cub with 2 seats. There isn't room for anyone else. Marcus sighed as he looked up.
Well, we have a grand total of 67.13. That's pathetic. That's all you have with both of you?
Tim laughed.
I have more than that by myself, because I don't spend it on stuff like you do. I saved about $100. You can even ask Mom.
Out, Tim, Rick demanded, losing his patience. It's not nice to brag. He shook his head as he punched figures into his calculator. This is a slow start, he complained to Marcus. And by my estimates, with our future allowances combined, it will take us 63.1 years to raise enough cash to buy the plane. Tim wedged himself in between the 2 bigger boys and looked at the picture of the Super Cub.
I'm not heavy,
he said, pointing to the cutaway view of the airplane's cargo area.
Why can't you just put a seat for me right here?
Tim, go out and let us talk, Rick sighed. You won't fit, and besides, I don't want my little brother tagging along on dangerous missions.
Yeah,
Marcus added, pointing at Rick with his thumb.
What he said. I won't get in the way,
Tim resisted. You're in the way right now. Mom! Rick called, standing up and trying to herd Tim toward the bedroom door. Rick and Marcus pulled on him from every direction, but Tim caught the bedpost and held on for dear life. Let's go! Rick hissed as he wrestled against Tim's wiry little body.
Let go of me.
Tim clung to the bed frame in desperation.
Please let me stay. You can have my allowance.
Rick and Marcus stopped tugging and looked at each other, then down at Tim's hopeful face. Did you say you've saved about $100? Rick asked slowly. Tim nodded.
On the second thought, he might fit.
Marcus shrugged.
He won't weigh any more than the cargo.
True, Vic said, mentally calculating the maximum load capacity. We could put a small seat in for him in the cargo area. There'd probably be enough oxygen in there for him to survive.
And we might be able to use him as a diversion tactic in case of an emergency.
Marcus noted.
You know, he could distract any officials who might try to stop us while we make a clean getaway.
Vic and Marcus released their grip on Tim's legs, and Tim plopped onto the floor. Just then, Mom peeked her head in the door. Is everything all right? Tim, are you pestering your big brother again? Tim looked up at Vic with pleading eyes. Vic thought fast before he answered. It's okay, Mom. He can stay in here with us if he wants. Mom seemed puzzled as she looked at each of them and then shook her head. I thought for sure you'd called. The boys could hear her voice trailing off as she walked down the hall away from their bedroom. Okay, you're in, Vic said finally.
Thanks, guys.
Tim said, adjusting his twisted clothing.
I'll go get the money out of my piggy bank.
But you're going to have to be a silent partner, Vic whispered.
I have to be quiet?
Tim looked incredulous. Marcus laughed.
Silent partner means you'll contribute to your allowance, but Rick and I will have to make all the important decisions.
Tim seemed satisfied as long as he was part of the plan. He dug around in a drawer, opened it, and emptied his savings out onto the pile. Marcus frowned.
We're still a long way from where we have to be.
Yeah, Vic replied. We're going to have to ask for an advance on birthday money and Christmas money and college money, or we could take out a loan from our parents. Marcus stood up.
Right, like that's gonna work. Think it over and let me know if you come up with anything. I'll come by later and we can do some brainstorming.
Sounds good, Vic said. When Dad came home that evening, Vic told him about their plan and asked him if he had any ideas on how to get the money. Maybe you'd like to make a sizable donation to the cause? Vic asked hopefully. Or maybe a moderate loan? Dad looked at the pictures of the Super Cup thoughtfully.
Well, Rick, I think it's a fantastic plan to start saving your money now.
Dad looked impressed.
I'm glad that you're setting honorable goals and working towards them. However,
He continued.
instead of borrowing or begging for the money for your airplane, I think you'd appreciate your achievement more if you earned the money the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way?
Marcus repeated, saying the words as if they had a strange taste. He and Rick were walking down the sidewalk.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. They'd stopped a little past the house that housed their new neighbors, and Rick poked the ground with a stick. What ideas did you come up with?
I tried to get my mom to give me a raise on my allowance. She just said that she'll pay me good money to see my bedroom stay clean.
Marcus made a face. Well, we all know that option's out. Both boys were quiet as they shuffled down the street deep in thought. The sun had finally come out, and the water on the sidewalks evaporated slowly, along with the boys' enthusiasm.
Hey, look at that.
Marcus pointed.
Mr. Bushnell is having a garage sale. Let's go see what he's selling.
Miss Vic and Marcus said hello to Mr. Bushnell, their neighbor, and then wandered from table to table looking at the sale items. What's this? Vic asked, picking up some metal devices.
Animal traps.
Mr. Bushnell said. You mean like old-fashioned trappers used to get furs to sell?
Yep.
Mr. Bushnell said.
Hey,
Marcus stopped and grabbed Vic's shoulder.
would that be an old-fashioned way to get money? You know, selling fox furs to rich people?
I'm not sure my parents would like it if I take up hunting. Vic wrinkled his forehead and looked at Marcus.
Yeah, mine neither.
Marcus was quiet for a moment, and then he brightened.
Except that we're doing it for a good cause. I mean, we're raising money to be missionary pilots, right? Besides that, I distinctly remember reading in the Bible that Nimrod was a mighty hunter before the Lord. If they have any objections, we'll tell them that we're following Nimrod's example.
I think you actually have to catch something before you qualify as mighty, but I also think you're onto something. Rick picked up the traps in his arms and went to negotiate a price with Mr. Bushnell, using part of their airplane money as an investment. Mr. Bushnell showed the boys how to set and bait the traps.
Here, you should probably set them out in the woods, away from the houses.
Mr. Bushnell said.
You might even be able to catch yourself a rabbit.
Rick smiled politely at Mr. Bushnell's suggestion. He thought it might be rude to tell him that their aims were much higher, to catch foxes and sell the fur.
Good luck.
Just then, Rick heard a familiar whistle. Oh no, it's my mom. I've got to go home.
Oh man.
Marcus' shoulders sagged, and he looked at the traps with big eyes.
You mean we gotta wait until tomorrow?
If I don't go in now, there won't be a tomorrow for me. I'll get into trouble and be stuck weeding flower beds or something. Rick watched Marcus' face and hoped he'd understand. Marcus nodded.
Okay, let's meet first thing in the morning. See you tomorrow?
Rick watched Marcus walk down Dogwood Drive before turning to go inside. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw something move. Stacking the traps inside the garage, Rick studied the house across the street. He thought he saw a boy's face in the window, but when he waved, the face disappeared and the curtains fell back into place. Well, if that was a new neighbor kid, he wasn't very friendly, Rick thought. Or maybe he's just shy. He opened the front door and walked inside, but he had the uncomfortable feeling that the face in the window was still watching him.